Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Education Plus Young Women's Leadership Hub podcast. Today we are keeping it quite intimate, quite close to home. We're going to be joined by some members of the Young Women's Leadership Hub. They're going to be giving us some insight as young people advocating in and beyond the space. So today we have two members from very diverse backgrounds, different countries, from different age groups. So I will let them give you more information about their very precious and gorgeous selves. I'll start with probably the person on my right.
I am Governor Chloe Payton, also an adolescent girl in Young Women Leadership Hub or Education Plus Initiative.
Lovely. And yourself, Rahma?
My name is Rahma Suleiman and I'm from Tanzania. I'm also part of Education Plus Initiative.
Right. So it seems like we all have one thing in common. We're part of the Young Women Leadership Hub. Maybe let's give them a bit of background about our personal stories, some anecdotes about how we got into the HIV space, because we know that Education Plus deals with three key themes: education, HIV, and SRH. Specifically, Education Plus is looking to use secondary education as a strategic point to reduce HIV emissions and be part of the global response of zero infections by 2030. So can you give me your personal stories as adolescent girls as it relates, adolescent girls and young women as it relates to the Young Women's Leadership Hub? Perhaps I'll start with you, Rahma.
For myself personally, I think I started engaging myself in the HIV space when I started working for one of the international organizations. And I was assigned as part of the team that was supposed to support the designing of the program. So it was a HIV response intervention based, and I had to go to the communities, engage with young women, adolescent girls, to see their real lives and challenges they are facing. So there's where my journey started. As part of Young Women Leadership Hub, it's been quite some time. And I think it's because of the work that I've been doing with a lot of stakeholders in the communities. And then I got an opportunity to be part of the hub.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to hear your very rich and extensive track record, and you're a very young woman yourself. So it's really exciting to see complete ownership of the HIV movement by young people. And Chloe, as one of our adolescents in Young Women's Hub, you're 13. It would just be awesome to hear how you got involved in the space, how we can maybe galvanize other young girls your age to be part of the HIV movement and protecting and safeguarding their health.
Yeah, I think I got involved in the HIV space in lockdown because that's when in Uganda we had a large number of girls with HIV, many teenage pregnancies during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right.
So I was I got involved with this organization called ACOD. It's in Uganda. It deals with girls, not brides, this type of stuff. So I got involved with them and we would talk about these issues, even go out to the communities, like to the villages, and use local language to get across to these people who are illiterate, So that's how I got involved. And how I got in Young Women Leadership Hub. Well, it was through that very same organization, but again with the help of the supervision of my parents and my auntie especially, because she took a video, a video of me speaking. And I don't know how it got there, but then they sent me the interview, and there I am in Young Women Leadership Hub. Thank you.
That's awesome. It's really beautiful to just hear how you guys have grown and how your journeys have amalgamated to working now in a high level, high political drive advocacy campaign that is the Education Plus Young Women's Hub. I'm really hearing from both of you that it started with galvanizing from your spaces. So if you were to tell a young person how they can be involved in a movement, they should start out by leveraging off of the spaces that are accessible to them, and gradually they might see that growth. That was very similar to my spaces. It really started in the classroom. I started asking some deeper questions, I remember asking, why is it that girls have to do everything in the house? Why is it that we're only seeing that men can say whether they want to have sex or not? So in the classroom, I wasn't seeing sufficient engagement of these topics. So I started going to my home, I started going to my community, and I was identified by mentors as somebody who's very inquisitive, and I just found my spaces growing. So maybe my advice to a young person who's seeking to be in such spaces is to let your inquisitivity lead, leverage the spaces and communities that you have access to. So yeah, it's very lovely and refreshing to hear your personal stories. Now maybe let's go back to the Young Women's Leadership Hub. What, Chloe, would you say the Young Women's Leadership Hub means to you and maybe other girls of your age?
I personally think not everyone can be in the Young Women's Leadership Hub, but a country or like other girls who cannot reach this Young Women Leadership Hub, having a representative in it is very important. And if I'm to represent all the girls in Uganda who cannot reach this, it means I must be very careful and still go back to the community, to those people of the grassroots, and bring across their problems. So I feel like we are not many who are in from Uganda. Not all the girls can be in and put across the issues. So as me, I feel like it's my responsibility to represent all of them and make sure their issues are identified and fixed.
I really love that response. You speak about how, as a representative, it's your responsibility to carry out their voices. Maybe just to ask just a small follow-up question. What do you think is the responsibility of the Education Plus Young Women's Leadership Hub to all the girls in the communities and at the grassroots levels?
I think the importance and what it should be doing, I think we should just be putting across the girls' issues, and the people who are above us should be finding solutions for it, not us just telling them the issues and they're just left there stunted.
Right.
So I feel like the Education Plus and Young Women Leadership Hub has given girls, those who are not in, those at the grassroots, an opportunity to put their problems across without any fear and be involved in decisions made for them.
Right. So Education Plus really is this wonderful bridge between high-level decision makers and stakeholders and young women. So we have young women on board who are supposed to lobby and represent our interests at a high political, high advocacy level. So that's really refreshing to hear. And thank you for being a part of the space and, leading. And as you rise, I hope you bring other adolescent girls with you. I know that's a very important motto from you. I'm just stealing your words from you. Maybe I'll ask you the same question. Rahma, what would you say what Young Women Leadership Hub means to you and your community? And maybe also the same follow-up question I asked Chloe. What is our responsibility as the Young Women's Leadership Hub to the girls, adolescent girls and young women in their diversity in the African continent?
The hub, I believe it means a lot to me. And I think it's one of the platforms that actually capacitate means a lot my capacity to work in a very large network of people, but also to understand different ways of working with different stakeholders, especially decision makers in big platforms. And I think it also provided me with an opportunity to refine my vision for my professional career in the youth empowerment sector, but also the HIV responses that I've been engaged since years back. So I'd say one of the responsibility is to ensure that we represent very well the adolescent girls and young women from different communities and their diversities, because this is just one chance opportunity, I can say. I might say we are the only people who are very lucky to have this kind of opportunity to make sure that we raise our voices for the sake of others, championing the human rights and leadership potentials of adolescent girls and young women. So it's really a big opportunity for us to create impact in our own capacities, but also throughout the assistance that we are getting from the hub itself and other potential funders.
Right. Thank you so much for that response. And I really appreciate that you emphasize that it's so important for us to bear in mind why we're here and to maximize the space and the resources, because of course, not everybody can be on this platform. So it's really important for us to be very responsible about how we do it, such that if the next best person was there, you can meet up to the same caliber and quality, right? So I think for me, what firstly, I'll start with what I'm most excited about Young Women's Leadership Hub. I think Young Women's Leadership Hub is very unique in the sense that it has brought the five different agencies. This is quite something new for that's been new for me. There's five different agencies. A quick recap is UNFPA, UNICEF, UNESCO. What am I missing, Chloe? UNAIDS, and the final one, UN Women. Yes. So we have five different agencies. And as a young woman working on ground, something I was really calling out to these organizations is that we need to work cross-sectorally. We are failing young people living with AIDS and HIV if we're not addressing the climate response, because we saw the cyclone in Malawi just I think this year or last year. And what does that mean for healthcare and infrastructure if we're seeing the collapse of infrastructure? We know that there's currently wars happening across different regions, right? Sudan, for example. What does it mean if hospitals are being bombed? So it's really important for us to address these different issues, the issues of security, the issue of climate, the issue of education. So it brought five agencies together as the Young Women's Hub, and it said we are tabling ourselves with one common goal, and that's to end AIDS by 2030, with a key population being obviously adolescent girls and young women who carry the burden of the HIV pandemic. And for me, that really excited me. I really felt like this was a comprehensive, integrated approach to ending HIV that we desperately needed. And I think another element of of Education Plus that excites me is its transitions. It has a pillar on transitions to work. That's really exciting because a lot of us feel like we're in high school and then we don't know how to navigate the world, right? How do we continue as advocates? How do we deepen our education beyond the school space? Because for me, education has been most impactful even outside of school spaces, with my community members, with my mentors, with conversations on the ground. So the work transitions element is really important. That's what excites me. And I think our responsibility as Young Women's Leadership Hub is to expand the space. When I came into the Young Women's Hub, I always recognized that there's such limited spaces. It's a critique that I have of the world personally, that so often we have just 1, 2, 3 people that have to represent masses. So I thought, how do I get into the space and expand? How can I leverage the resources here in my community? And I appreciate that in the Young Women's Hub, we've developed toolkits, right? We developed the Flourish toolkit that was capacitating young people on how to be health advocates. We had World AIDS Day webinars where we facilitated community conversations. So for me, we share opportunities as much as we can. And hopefully we can build other spaces, right? We can leverage off other networks. You guys spoke about the networks that you come from. We can kind of integrate and consolidate the network such that nobody is left behind. So that's something that excites me and something I really appreciate about. And then maybe just to finish off the conversation, I'll leave off with maybe if you can tell us something you have learned from another young person in the Young Women's Leadership Hub, if you could identify them to us, and something that you have learned from them and something you appreciate about them as an HIV and SRH advocate. Maybe I'll start with you, Rahma, again.
I'd say self-compassion. Because as young women leaders or advocates in this space, most of the time we tend to care for others and we rarely care for ourselves. We don't usually give ourselves sometimes, love each other or love ourselves to treat ourselves better. So I feel like that's one of the things that I actually learned from one of the young women leaders from the hub. And I would really like to encourage each and everyone to also consider that as one of the key aspects, especially if we're engaged in different interventions and activities, because we usually don't have time for ourselves.
That's so true. Would you like to identify who this person is in the Young Women's Hub so that we can give girls their flowers and appreciate others in the movement? Maybe it's somebody in Young Women's Hub or somebody not in Young Women's Hub, but maybe who taught you the lesson and what did they mean to you as a young girl advocate?
She's no longer with us, and I really acknowledge her existence in our lives. It's Hazel.
Okay. Hazel Jojo. This is also hopefully a tribute to our Hazel Jojo. Hazel Jojo was a member of the Young Women's Leadership Hub. We're actually in her home, Zimbabwe. So it's quite beautiful that we get to be here and get to acknowledge her. And we actually got to see her grave earlier this morning. It was a bit emotional, but just a reminder about how impactful she was. Her teaching you self-compassion, like how beautiful of all things she taught you how to love yourself, you know. So I'm dedicating this podcast to Hazel on this beautiful day. Thank you for sharing that with us. And then Chloe, can you maybe identify for us a person in Young Women's Leadership Hub that you found inspiring, exciting, or even somebody out of it, and what they've taught you that you'd like to share with other young girl advocates?
I think I've learned from everyone, but just because my age difference is kind of a lot from all the rest, it becomes kind of hard sometimes. I think just because that person is kind of close to my age, I think I learn a lot from her because I'm usually with her. So I think she's taught me how to network and not sit in one place. Just because I'm in a place and I feel like I'm the youngest there, I think I'm used to sitting down and keeping quiet. But because of her, I feel like she's taught me how to network, not be scared of anyone, have my confidence, go talk to those who I feel will give me new opportunities. And really, I appreciate her. Yeah, thank you. And I know you're going to ask who it is.
I'm not sure. Who could it be, Chloe? Oh, that's so sweet. I love you so much, Chloe. Chloe's my favorite person in the Young Women's Leadership Hub. But not to make this cheesy, I'll probably identify someone else. We have Ngoza sitting at the back there feeling a bit touched, but you know, the love's for everyone. For me, oh man, I really appreciate everyone so much. I'm gonna give this tribute to Gloria, our supervisor. She is our supervisor, but she has so much energy. Hey, when we are running out of energy, we go to our supervisor, Gloria, and we're like, Gloria, what do we do? She's a sister, you know, she's a part of us, right? She's really in a concrete way challenged those very hierarchical structures that we can see when it comes to leadership. Not only can we approach her with issues concerning Young Leadership Hub, she's also made a commitment to us to help us as individuals. And I think that's so important in whatever space, because before we enter space advocating for other people, as you said, Rahma, we are also people affected by these issues that we're advocating against. So our spaces deeply need to see that. So I really appreciate Gloria for being a sister. You know, that's the kind of person we work with, and I really appreciate her. And she has really taken Young Women's Leadership Hub to the next level. If you see all of this, she has played a key role, including us. I really appreciate all my team members. I appreciate Chloe's guardian, Miss Gloria. She's also sitting behind the scenes. We appreciate you so much for accompanying Chloe, for being such a strong role model, not only to Chloe, but to all of us. Like, we just have a beautiful space of loving, compassionate, supporting women. And this is the kind of world I've always wished for myself. And I'm so grateful that I get to experience it and that you guys have made this dream come true for me, you know? I think maybe any last words whatsoever, and then we can wrap up this podcast. Maybe, I'll bring it back to you, Chloe. Any last final words or thoughts that you just want to put out there before we close the podcast? Because I don't want the podcast to end and you shouldn't say, oh, I should have said that. So this is your chance, Chloe, if you have anything to say or end up with.
Well, I'm just happy that I got a chance to be on the podcast, talking to all of you guys, and I hope this podcast can, encourage more other people out there, and maybe some people will learn something from this podcast.
Sure. I'll go second last so that Rahma, you can close us off. I just want to say to the person who's watching this, I love you so much, and please take care of yourself.
What should I say? Let's love each other and always look after one another, because we are one pillar.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.